Hello, so I'm back in the beautiful Loxley Valley once again, and this time I'm down here because it's time to talk about what alternative proposals, kind of firm up alternative proposals for what we should be doing with the former Hepworth site in the Lower Don Valley, in the Loxley Valley, now that the planning application has been thrown out. Fantastic decision that by everybody concerned, so that's great, and a big thanks to all the councillors and council planners for that. And of course the developers may go to appeal or may put in another application or whatever, but I think it's come to the point now where we need to, the community anyway, needs to firm up what they would like to see done with this eyesore of a site in this probably arguably Sheffield's most beautiful valley. So yeah, it's the Sunday the 20th of September, and I just want to walk through. There's quite a few people around, and I want to start here near the bowling green. What I envision for this side, for this part, is just along here. That way is south, by the way, so obviously that way is north, that way is west, and that way is east. Is a row of very traditional cottages. The river's just down there behind that building, but I think what you would like to see here is something that's very traditional, something that's very environmentally friendly. Hiya. Obviously the houses could have solar panels on the south facing roof, get sun all day, even in winter. And so I think something like 10, maybe 12 traditional style terrace cottages along here would be fantastic. Plenty of space for car parking if they need a car, which in reality most people will have a car here. Public transport is not, and while ever there is such few housing and facilities down here, is never going to be up to standard. So yeah, so maybe 10, 12, and then landscape down to the river. So you could either build a flood defence for the houses, or you could again take away some of the land and give the river extra capacity to flood. But the problem with that is you probably have to be taking out some of the trees, which you don't really want to do. And then of course this red brick building, this will become a really good community centre, visitor centre, maybe a little museum. It's quite a decent sized building, it goes back quite a way there. Maybe a little shop in there. So that'd be quite nice. Just want to walk over the bridge here, because this is where the present row cottages are at the back. And of course, because there's already housing here, and this is the eastern side of the site closest to Loxley. If you're going to build housing, then you want to build it here and really nowhere else. So despite what I might have said in previous videos in the past, I think you've got a viable business here. If community are happy with these buildings to stay, personally I think they're a bit of an eyesore, but you know, it's a viable business. This will be the site for around about 50 homes, 50 eco-friendly homes. built again in very traditional style with traditional materials, but using the latest technology to make them as efficient as possible. Again, you can build in walls to help with the flood protection, but the fact that I'm proposing this site behind the let's get out of this way, a wetland wildlife landscape behind here. That's what I'm proposing for here. That would help alleviate the flooding on that site there and throughout the rest of the development. So of course you've already got, with the bowling green, community centre, there's a garage there as well as spare motors, you've got housing there. Already you've got the beginning of a little kind of hamlet, which I think will be acceptable. So let's carry on. 6 minutes. I'm just very wary as to how much space I've got on my phone. I think I probably got up to about half an hour, but not sure. But I want to kind of walk the whole site. So again, we can see the red brick building here. Cycle path. This concrete path continues up to the old Marshall site. I shall highlight it again as we go on. So yeah, community centre, visitor centre, museum, shop, and also maybe the visitor centre for the kind of wetland wildlife area that I'm proposing here. So this is Rags Pond. And this is what I call the Rags site, even though the lorry park is also the Rags site, but I tend to call that the lorry park site, because really, even though it's one site, it is really 3 sites. They are quite independent of each other. So again, we can see these warehouses which just need taking away. Again, this is quite a big site on its own. That you'll see as we come. So you see how extensive it is. Beautiful day again. Just love being up here anytime really, but on a day like this it's just, there's nowhere better. And hopefully it will become even better in the years to come when this blight's swept away. So this is the kind of goit that runs from the River Loxley and actually feeds the pond there. So you can see as we look through there, you can see how the land drops. You know, I'm repeating myself, I've said similar things on past videos, but I'm just trying to put it all together in one video. So all this will be swept away, all this concrete gone, all these buildings gone, the land lowered if necessary even further, maybe different levels there. So again, the river, which is behind that building over there, can then flood into there, and there will be a cycle path, maybe a bridle way or a footpath as well going through, just to give an alternative route to this footpath. Probably planted up quite a bit round here, so there's some kind of dense growth, so you know, you don't get people kind of just jumping in. It's the paths are leading people into where you want them to go. So again, the design is important, has to be important. And as we come along, again, for people who've never walked along the valley, you probably won't get an idea of how the land lies until you actually walk it. But I think many people who are going to watch this video will know exactly how the land lies, so they'll be able to hopefully follow what I'm saying. So we come to this concrete path, which again, from that red brick building, it comes round. Again, this will be a cycleway across and up through there, and it crosses the footpath here. But that's the entrance to the Rags site, and there is no access from here at the moment over to the Marshall's site, which is over there. So yeah, so you can see the land drops here. And again, the idea will be to allow all that area there, which is quite big. Just watch some of my other videos, well, at least one of my other videos, to see how extensive that is. Now already, if we look through, in fact, if I just get to the river here, come down to the river, this is the old Marshall site now. This is a site up near the water treatment works. So the river there is about 6 to 8 feet below where I am. That bank there is at least, I would say, 12 to 15 feet high. And you could actually build another wall to make it higher, to give it extra flood defence. But clearly, if this river floods, because I'm a good 6 feet, I mean, I'm about 6 feet tall, and I can't see over that. So the river rises and flows into here and floods all this area. It's got another 6 feet to go, and possibly more if you were to build a wall up there, before it flows over there. That's assuming that there is already good drainage on that site that's getting rid of any water. And because the flood water doesn't just necessarily come from the river itself, it's a steep side of valley, so it's the water running down the valley that can produce flooding actually on the flat areas in the valley bottom, rather than the river coming up doing the flooding. But people who kind of specialise in flood management will know this, I would imagine. So yeah, so if we carry on, what am I on? 13, nearly 14 minutes. Yeah, there are people there who are kind of strong environmentalists. You know, I'm interested in the environment, but I don't call myself a strong environmentalist, because I understand that politicians, or when you live in a society, you have to take on board lots of different wants and needs, and just to look at things in the term of the environment, I think, is a little bit myopic. If you can improve the environment, improve biodiversity, as well as improving job opportunities, improving wealth, if you can have economic sustainability as well as environmental sustainability, then it's better to have both than just one. So there are plans, I think. Some environmentalists would like to see this whole site, or these whole 3 sites, turned into something like the Old Moor RSPB site in Doncaster, which I wouldn't be totally against that. I can see how that will benefit so well if all of these sites, these 3 sites, become floodplains and wetland wildlife areas. You can see the potential there. Oh yeah. When a bit more fly tipping has come down, you can see the potential there. You know, so I wouldn't be completely upset if that happened. But as I say, I don't see there being a lot of other opportunities for job creation, for wealth creation, for keeping money in this community here, or bringing more money into this community by just building something like Old Moor or Potterick Car. In fact, for practical reasons, it's probably difficult to do that with this site, because the reason why those sites are successful is because the very big areas that are kind of fenced off or sealed off in some way from the public, so you have to pay to go in. And of course that money that people pay through going through the door or subscribing to RSPB or the Wildlife Trusts is used to maintain those landscapes, because if you don't maintain those landscapes, they go back to nature. They go back to wet woodland, to just a wild forest, rather than being the biodiverse landscapes that they are. They need managing. Reed beds will take over, and then you get silver birch and willow coming in, taking over as the scrapes out there fill up. So you have to have some kind of commercial activity to make sure there's an income coming in to pay people to manage those landscapes. Not only that, there are numerous public footpaths coming through this site, so therefore it would be hard to fence it off and just have one kind of overarching development, such as 3 large floodplains on all the sites that I'm showing you. So I think my proposal, I'm going to self-aggrandize. Yeah, I'm going to aggrandize myself. Can't even think of the right words. And say that a mixed-use development along the lines of what I'm proposing is by far the best option for this site. There will obviously be people who are against certain parts of it, and that's fine, but you're never going to please everybody. So we're here, I'm 17, nearly 18 minutes in. So we're here on kind of what is the Marshall site. So again, I've said before, I would like to see something along the lines of the Tropical Butterfly House in Anston. On that site over there, this will be the car park for it. There will be a barrier at the top of the road, which would be put in there to stop people coming down and fly tipping at night. This will all be landscaped with car parking. All these buildings would be removed here. You would have mass tree planting, again similar to Wentworth Garden Centre for the car park. So again, you're keeping that, you know, you're building on, you're keeping the trees, you're increasing the number of trees in the valley. And obviously we come to this building here, which I think is listed. So again, I've talked before, this will make a lovely pub. Take that modern extension down and you've got a lovely south facing terrace there onto the river. You could drop it down again to give the river more area to expand into. And then to keep some activity during the day in midweek down here, when it will be at its quietest time, as far as the attraction over there is concerned. I think having some really nice, rebuilding some business units along there, and possibly using that for car parking as well, either for the businesses or for the fisheries up there, or even for the visitor attraction, or a combination of all 3. I think some business units along there. Again, They could be much shorter because the river's behind there, so you can build them shorter, drop the land down again, give the river more capacity to flow into. So then if you've got people working down here, it doesn't necessarily have to be manufacturing, it could be all sorts of businesses, environmental businesses, technology, internet, etc. What we're on 20 minutes. Don't know if I'll have a chance to do it. I was going to go across there, but basically the bridge would need widening, and then you've got a public footpath that goes up round there, and just over there would be, in fact let's go over, we might be able to do it before I run out of space on my phone. So basically where these fences have been knocked down, you can see a fence up there that's been pulled out and a fence here. One fence would be people going in, that would be the entrance where people would pay to go in. The other one where people come out, doesn't matter which one I don't think. This one could be the one where people come out, that one could be the one where people go in, whatever. I'm all for sweeping virtually everything away there except for the chimney. I think I've mentioned that before. Chimney would be nice to keep. And so to finish off, 21 minutes, 22 minutes nearly. Again, car parking here, or maybe a lovely garden from the pub, maybe a lovely landscaped area, seats overlooking the river. Again, you could even drop this down a bit so it acts as a floodplain. There's a little bit of a floodplain there. So I just want to walk down. In fact, I'll talk about it just in case I run out of space. So as we're going just back a little bit to those steps that I came up to Stores Bridge Lane, which leads up onto Loxley Road, there is that old kind of Victorian, I think, house building that really I'm looking at as a kind of bijou hotel, that on its own may not be viable, but if you've got other attractions in the area that are going to bring people in from outside of the region, it makes something like that more viable. So yeah, and I also want to talk about the gates, the fencing there, where that concrete cycle path from the red brick building that comes out there. So you could keep that cycle path like that. Again, there's potentially space there for maybe some business units. Because of course, if you have economic activity happening down here, then they're paying taxes, they're paying business rates, they're paying council tax. The local council, it'll benefit the local council and giving them some money. You know, you might be critical, as I am quite often, of the local council wasting money or whatever, but even the government wasting money. But you know, if you have people contributing in taxation, that's kind of what we want. So yeah, so obviously this would all become nice proper road, nice and tarmacked, and extra car parking. I think we have to be pragmatic here. A lot of people are going to come by car, but even those that don't, the 61-62 bus service to Bradfield is for an outlying place like Bradfield quite a good service. And even if it only ups the numbers of visitors using, the number of people using that service by a small amount, that's got to be a good thing. So there will hopefully be some people using public transport to come out here, but I think we have to be realistic that most people are going to use the cars. And so I want to finish off by saying that would be a nice little bijou hotel, little restaurant attached, maybe another pub if it's viable, or some other visitor centre. You know, the possibilities are really quite endless, as long as we can find the public money to clear the site up and possibly profit from any housing down on the lorry park site to help fund that as well. The only other thing I would say is that down near the weir where I climbed up the steps, you know, people say there's kingfishers going up and down here. So I mean, as part of the kind of Marshalls, the kind of the tropical butterfly house, you could have a little cafe overlooking the river called the Kingfisher Cafe, and cafe with a K, you know. So just quirky little things like that. And underneath it on the weir you could even have another Archimedes screw providing electricity for the site, similar to what there is further down the valley. So I hope you can see how I'm trying to tick as many positive boxes as possible. Not just the positive box of increasing biodiversity and environmental sustainability, but ticking the box of revenue for the council, for the government, job creation, wealth creation for the local community, keeping money and services within this location, and in fact increasing the amount of money and services in this location by creating attractions that people will come from all over the region for. So anyhow, I think I'll leave it there with that view of the Loxley Valley. Bye for now.